it is easy for the human mind to trap itself, getting stuck. The concepts that we use to understand reality gets in the way of reality. Our ideas about people get in the way of actually understanding people. We need to see the ways in which this happens, and two of these ways I call dichotomism and monolithization, respectively. These are both about overgeneralizations, stereotypes, and lack of nuance, but they are in a little bit different ways. Monolithization is when you view a group of people, or animals for that matter, as if they were one unified monolith, where everybody are the same. You can just treat them as if they were one person, one block. For example, if you talk about a race or a gender as if it was a person with its own opinions, then you're approaching monolithization or doing outright monolithization. What do men want? What do women want? What do white people want? And blah 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 blah. This is monolithization. Dichotomism, on the other hand, is getting stuck in dichotomies. A dichotomy is to divide something into two sides, defining them by making them each other's opposite. And this is not a bad thing in itself, but getting stuck in it is. To take a simple example, we tend to divide every 24-hour period into night and day. The day is light, the night is dark, etc. And this dichotomy does not take into account that the shift between night and day is gradual. We have at least an hour on each side where day is approaching or night is approaching, and to draw a really clear line between night and day can't really be done. It is on a sliding scale, and usually this doesn't matter, but if we get it entirely stuck in our head that each moment of the day is outright either day or night, then there will be times when we have trouble understanding reality. And this is just a simple example. As a more complex example, let's have a look at gender. We divide people into male and female. And as long as we keep this dichotomy to the very simple physical fact of having something between the legs, this dichotomy works for more than 99% of the people. It's not 100%, because there are some people who are born intersexual, having both male and female physical features. And this is really complex. I'm not going to go into the details, but sufficient to say there are many variants. There are many ways in which a person can not fit into the male/female dichotomy in a purely genetical, physical, biological way. But gender is usually not just about what you have between your legs. It's usually about social structures and gender roles and identities and ideas about who you really are, and so on and so on. And with all that kind of stuff, we always get dichotomies that a lot of people don't fit into. The ideas about gender vary a lot between different times and different places. We like to think, a lot of people at least like to think, that gender is universal, but a lot of what we put into gender really isn't. What made me start thinking about dichotomism is Richard Dawkins' book, The Greatest Show on Earth. In this book, he explained that the main reason people have a hard time understanding evolution is that they see animals as specieses. But a species of animals doesn't really exist. Only animals exist. and our way of dividing them into species, that works most of the time, but it's not a way to understand biology or evolution, because reality doesn't work like that. It has never happened in the history of the world that one animal has given birth to an animal of different species. What we have in reality are gradual changes from generation to generation, and as these changes branch off in different directions, we can eventually call the result different species. The concept of monolithization, on the other hand, I got from a combination of three things. It was a poem about the hedgehog, it was a racist anti-Semitic joke about the Jew, and there was the concept of the myth of the happy hooker. What these three have in common is that they talk about something as if it was an individual and a category at the same time. And this doesn't really work. Well, it does work really fine in the poem about the hedgehog, because this is just a fable. It's entirely okay that animal is a person who is a human actually, and an animal, and all animals of the same species at the same time, and a symbol for, in this case, people getting oppressed. It's okay because the hedgehog is not an actual person, but when you take a category of actual persons and make them a kind of fable animal, when you make them into a symbol for something, it's not so fun anymore. For those of you who understand Swedish, I have made a longer clip about this particular thing on my Swedish channel. Anyway, something we have to remember is that dichotomism and monolithization, like so much else, it's on sliding scales. It is not that either we have a useful dichotomy or we have a destructive dichotomism. It can be a bit of both. And in the same way, it's not that either we have just free individuals without social structures and so on, or we have these monoliths. Individual versus group is yet another dichotomy, one that easily turns into dichotomism. It is not so that we are only individuals or only groups. We are individuals and groups. Both perspectives are important. I'm done for today, but one final note about how I sometimes pronounce dichotomy. In my native language, Swedish, this word is pronounced dichotomy, and that's why I sometimes slip. So this is just a bit of an accent. Goodbye for now.